What makes our video podcast different from others? We ask each guest what they're doing to give back to the world and their local community. Now that they've amassed their wealth, how are they giving back to help others? Additionally, we ask each guest to give our listeners a special gift to help them grow as a person and to influence their business. Welcome to the Roy Snarr Show, entrepreneurship and giving back. Now, here's your host, Roy Snarr.
Welcome back to the Roy Snarr Show. Today, I'm super excited to have somebody who I call a friend. He is one of the top global speakers. Like, there's only 5 other people in the world who has done what he has done. He's in the top 1% of all speakers nationally and globally. And he is just absolutely amazing. He's written over 25 books, and these are the 2 most recent books today. He knows some of the biggest names in the industry, such as Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, and tons of others, Les Brown. These are his personal friends, and we get the honor to have Jim Cathcart here in studio. Jim, thank you so much.
Man, thank you. Wow,
Appreciate
I can't wait to hear me.
Yeah,
that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, thank you. I mean, when I was reading through the list of accomplishments, I was like, my goodness, I want to aspire to be like Jim. We would have taken up the whole hour just reading up all the accolades and everything that he's done. So today's going to be jam-packed, a lot of fun. And so, Jim, maybe you can share with everybody a little bit more about yourself and how you got to be where you're at.
Well, it depends on where you start, how long that story is going to be. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born in 1946. I'll save you the math. I'm 76. And just active as can be and still going strong. My dad was a telephone repairman. My mom was a homemaker. My grandfather was an invalid from a stroke, and he was in our front bedroom while I was a child for about 7 years in a hospital bed. He passed away. And then I was an average student, not an athlete. Just a happy kid, you know, living in the suburbs in Little Rock and hoping to have a nice life. And what I expected from life was that I'd get to be a grown-up. You know, I'd graduate high school, maybe go to college, maybe not. Get a job at, say, the phone company like Dad, but I didn't want to be a repairman. So I figured I'd work in the office. And I'd live for whatever the average was for my gene pool, like 72 point whatever years, you know. And then pass away and get out of the way for others. Yeah. I really thought I would be about that significant.
Wow. And
then one day in 1972, I was newly married, overweight, out of shape, smoking 2 packs a day, working for the Housing Authority, Urban Renewal Agency, for an entry-level job for $525 a month. And in the next room on the radio, I heard a person like you, Earl Nightingale. He was on all the radio stations back then. And he said, if you will spend 1 hour extra every day studying your chosen field, in 5 years or less, you'll be a national expert. And I thought, wait a minute, do the math. Hour a day, let's make it simple. 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, 5 years, that's 1,250 hours.
Yeah.
1,250 hours on one subject, yeah, you could be knowledgeable. And if the subject was really narrow, like instead of leadership, it's managing teams. Or instead of managing teams, it's managing sports teams.
Right. Okay.
Or instead of managing sports teams, it's managing football quarterbacks. The more focused you get, the more that 1,250 hours pays dividends. So I thought, what do I want to do? Didn't know. Took me weeks. And finally, I said, I want to do what that guy on the radio does. I want to help people grow. I want to be a motivational expert. I didn't know anything about motivation. And I certainly didn't know anything about public speaking. I had never given a speech, and I had nothing to say.
So, I've been there.
You know, I just took it from ground zero and started intensely, fanatically studying the field of personal development.
Wow. And so from personal development, how did you morph into the speaking side of it, like getting your first gig? And so let's say you read a great book like yours, and now you're like, okay, what do I do at this point? Like, what was that transition?
The first thing I did was I started reading the classics like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Positive Thinking, name it, the books of the day, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I bought a very expensive, I was making $525 a month, $560 audio cassette library from Earl Nightingale.
Okay.
And it was 36 or 48, depending on the way you configured it, 20-minute messages.
Oh, okay.
Now, think about that. I'm a young newlywed with a baby at home. I'm in an entry-level job, and I'm spending more than a month's salary on 20-minute audio recordings, and it doesn't even teach me a trade.
Ooh. That must have been fun talking to your wife about
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah. And she said, Jim, we can't afford this. I said, I know. And what had happened was the man who sold them to me, Harold Gash, he said, take these home, listen to them for 30 days. If at the end of the 30 days you don't feel like it's making a difference in your life, bring it back. If you want to keep it, figure out how to pay for it. Well, for 30 days, I listened fanatical in the literal sense of the word, like totally obsessed with this.
Wow.
Get up in the morning, listen to the tapes, play the tape every time I get in the car. If I'm cooking hamburgers on the grill, I've got the tape player there doing one of the recordings over and over and over. I did that for 5 years.
Same tapes.
Same tapes.
Wow.
But the first, I added other things to it, obviously.
Sure.
But for the first 30 days, only those tapes. And at the end of the 30 days, my wife said, you don't want to take them back, do you? And I said, no, I don't. She said, well, why don't you figure out how to pay for them? Which meant she had seen enough change in me. She didn't want to go back to the old me.
Right.
Because I'd stopped smoking. I'd started getting in shape. I was starting to set goals and get organized and manage my time better. I was more understanding. I was a better listener. All kinds of great benefits were showing up in my behavior. But it was just beginning, and she didn't want to let go. And
it was worth the $525.
Yeah. So I joined the JCs, Junior Chamber of Commerce, which back then was enormous. They had 350,000 members around the country. Today it's a small organization, but back then it was servicing the baby boom. Okay. And it was a civic club. So I joined, and they had a big leadership training component. And I said, that's what I want. I'm going to serve my community and learn leadership skills. I went to, wait for it, 400 JC's meetings in 2 years for free after work.
Wow.
400? That's fanatical.
Yeah.
And on the way to every meeting, and on the way home from every meeting,
tapes.
I listened to tapes.
Oh, wow.
And that started me reading all the books and going to seminars. There weren't many back then. Seminars were rare. Today you can find them anywhere, including online.
Right.
And there was no online. So, I couldn't, it's not like I could do what YouTube offers today or something like that. I couldn't tune into a podcast or a show like this one and get my knowledge. So that kind of intense, fanatical dedication allowed me to go from 1972, when the thought entered my mind, to I joined the JCs that year. By 1974, I was one of the state chairmen in charge of leadership training programs, driving all over the state, conducting group discussions. The next year, the U.S. Junior Chamber of Commerce National Headquarters in Tulsa, Oklahoma, hired me as Director of Leadership Training for 356,000 members. Pause. In 1972, I heard Earl Nightingale on the radio. He said, 1 extra hour a day, 5 years or less, national expert. I said, I want to do what he does. 72. Move that to 77. 1977, that's 5 years later, I left my position at the national headquarters of the JCs and went to work full-time on my own, teaching seminars all over the nation on leadership skills. I did about 100 seminars a year. Since that time, I've done 3,500 all over the world.
That is amazing.
It's been a good ride, and I'm still riding. Yeah. I'm driving, actually.
Wow. How did you, in the early stages there, how did you market yourself? Like, how did you get the word out?
Every way I could think of. If I thought it was a good idea to just kind of leave my business card on the table, somewhere so someone would see it,
Wow.
I would do that.
That's guerrilla marketing right there.
Totally. And I know Jay and I know the other folks involved in guerrilla marketing from the early days of that book. Yeah, I mean, I did everything I could think of. I wasted tons of money. I spent time with people that were absolutely not prospects for me. I learned the hard way and the easy way.
Right.
And I got around the people that knew what they were doing, and it started paying off. And then I joined the brand new National Speakers Association, which was a couple hundred members at the time.
Yeah.
But all my heroes were there. You know, there's Earl Nightingale and Zig Ziglar and Dr. Kenneth McFarland and you know, the names of the day, Dennis Waitley and people like that. And they welcomed me. And they taught me what they knew. And I said, well, I'll go do that. And I did.
You probably had those tapes memorized by that point.
Well, yeah. Man, it's been wonderful.
Wow, that is amazing. See, it was much different back then because nowadays we have, you know, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, social media.
The ease today of learning is like 1,000 times easier than it was back then. Because then you had to go to the library. Libraries are a big building where they have lots of information in
Most
the form
people probably
of
don't
books
know.
and other things, not digital.
Wow.
And you can go in there and learn about most anything you want. Well, literally, I went to the public library and checked out many of those books.
That is amazing. You see, we take advantage of how easy it is to actually get knowledge. And nowadays, the biggest thing is distraction, laziness, and you have to develop what you develop, which is that burning desire. That's what Napoleon Hill talks about, Earl Nightingale.
Yeah.
Like, you have to become absolutely obsessed with your concept, your idea.
And not at first. You know, at first, you just need to be fascinated by it.
Sure.
And really get into it. But when you decide I'm going pro, when you decide I'm taking this seriously, I'm going to do this, that's the day the rules change for you. That's the day the standards you have to operate by are raised, the expectations on yourself are greater, and the requirements from you are greater. That's the day you have to start becoming the kind of person that would be worthy of that. One of the things I talk about in many of my speeches is become the person who would attract the outcomes you want. So how do I, let's use a sports analogy. How do I get the quarterback to throw me the football? How about being a receiver, going downfield and getting into the open?
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You know, because if you're not out in the open downfield, you're not going to get the ball.
Right.
You could, but you won't. So become eligible for what you want, and it'll start seeking you as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's just, you know, you entering into this matrix and you're attracting that to you. Oh, speaking of that, what type of affirmations do you actually use? Do you, like, every morning, do you have affirmations?
I do. I'm not, you know, in the early days, I did whatever the books told me.
Sure.
You know, I think I can. I think I can. I think I
Thomas
can.
the Train over here.
I am a redwood, great and tall. If I'm an acorn, I am a redwood, great and tall. My mighty branches shelter all. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and people like me. No, you're still going to be an oak, but be a great one. You know,
right? Yeah, exactly.
So I wrote a book called The Acorn Principle, and the whole thing centers around that concept. Yeah. Figure out what's your nature, cultivate that nature, and become excellent at what you're naturally suited for, instead of constantly adapting, because then you're always going to be dependent on your resources and not on your gifts.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do every day when I wake up is I say, thank you, Lord, for this good day. And then I go find the good in it.
Yeah, gratitude.
And I don't get up in the morning and turn on the TV.
No.
I like silence.
Oh.
I get up in the morning and think. And I don't immediately go to my email and start letting other people determine what I'm going to think.
Oh, that's good.
I want some quiet time to think about what matters to me. And then I'll focus on the other things.
Wow.
And that's been a habit that's transformed my life. At the end of the day, when my head hits the pillow, I say, thank you, Lord, for this good day.
Wow,
it could be a day where flights were canceled. I was stuck in an airport sleeping on the bench. There was a blizzard. This literally happened in Chicago, and I had to sleep in the airport because it was shut down overnight. And then finally they said, hey, some hotels have opened up and the shuttles are working. And I ran downstairs, and there's tens of thousands of people
Oh,
trying,
man.
trying to get on the
Especially
shuttles.
Chicago Airport,
And
O'Hare.
I got onto one, and it was like one of these Chinese subway pictures or Japanese subway pictures you've seen on TV.
Oh, my goodness.
The doors were about to close, and I got up on the step, and then I grabbed a guy by the arm and pulled myself in enough that the doors closed behind me.
Oh, goodness.
In hopes we would go to a hotel where there was still a room.
Oh.
Got to the hotel, and it's in a blizzard in Chicago, and that can be pretty severe.
Yeah.
And this was like in the 1980s, I think. And got to this hotel, it was a Hyatt, and I looked at the line, and the line is like here to eternity. It's like getting into Coachella or something, just forever. And so I thought, what's a better strategy? I walked over to a bank of telephones, and I called, and I picked up a house phone.
Yeah.
And I hit the front desk, and they said, Hyatt front desk. And I said, I need to book a room right now. And they said, well, just come on over. I said, no, I've got my credit card. I can do it right. Oh, okay, well, hang on. And they booked a room for me. So all these other people are waiting to see if there's a room.
Oh, wow.
And so they said, okay, you're set. When you get here, just go da-da-da. And so I walked up to the front of the line, and I said, Cathcart? And they said, oh, yeah, here. And they gave me my room key.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was awesome.
Oh, man.
I found the same thing was true at the airport. When there's a long line and flights are canceled and all that, rebook online. Or back in the days of payphones, go to the payphone or whatever and call and rebook that way. Wow. And that way you avoid the line.
Because you couldn't whip out your smartphone back in those days.
No,
and just rebooked it.
Nobody even had a mobile phone. And I was still flying in the days of Braniff and TWA and Eastern Airlines and Pan Am, a bunch of those that have gone under.
TWA, I remember those.
Yeah, I went around the world literally twice in 1 year on TWA, on speaking tours. But I remember one time I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I went to the counter of Braniff Airlines, and it was clear things were going badly. And I said, what's up? He said that the airline has just announced we're going bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, obviously I need your help. He said, I don't have to help. I'm no longer employed. And he walked away.
Oh, that's good customer service.
So I ran to another airline real fast because I had to get to a speaking engagement in another city.
Oh.
Wow.
So
I've been
but you
through
made it
that.
on time.
Yeah.
You made it. Yeah. See. Yeah.
And I was giving a speech, conducting a meeting when Ronald Reagan was shot, and people came in the room and said the president's been shot.
Oh.
I had a full speaking calendar when 9/11 hit, and I was at home in California at the time, and my mom called from Arkansas, said, "Turn on your TV."
Wow.
Turned on the TV and saw the Twin Towers coming down, and realized all those speech bookings were impossible.
Wow.
Because planes weren't flying, people couldn't get to the meetings, and they sure didn't need me there. So all my speeches were canceled.
Wow.
And no reprieve. So I reached out to people I knew within 30 miles of where I lived, and I formed a leadership ground level leadership training alliance. Called it the 101, Highway 101 Leaders Alliance. And I said, we may not be able to make any money, but we can certainly make a difference. So let's teach people at the street level how to organize, plan, do projects, find resources, and get others to cooperate. And so I got Pepperdine University, Cal Lutheran University, Cal State Channel Islands, Ventura County Sheriff, Reagan Presidential Library, and other groups involved in that.
That's amazing.
And that went on for 2 years.
So you pivoted immediately when that happened.
Well, not immediately. At first I was shocked, stunned, and afraid. And then I had time to think. But it was all within that 1 to 2 day period.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we didn't know if it was World War III or what was going on.
Sure.
Right?
No, totally.
Yeah.
It's kind of like most recently how we all went through the COVID experience.
Yeah.
When they shut everything down. I mean, luckily we had Zoom at this point in time. So when the Twin Towers incident happened, there was no Zoom or real WebEx going on, right? I mean, I was in 7th grade, so.
Absolutely, there was none of that. It was all telephone and email.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't do a seminar on speakerphone, that'd be hard.
I did that one time.
You really did? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. Well, I did it, and they'd have a speaker in the center of the room, and I would be on a landline. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. The old rotary phone,
rotary
circuits.
or buttons either way. But I remember being on a landline and giving a presentation to a meeting in another city, and I found out who was in the room and had a general sense of what their seating arrangement was.
Yeah.
And I knew a couple of the people well enough to know how they would respond to some of the things I said.
Sure.
And at one point I said to a guy who's coincidentally, his name was Roy Huddle. And I said, I made my statement, and then I said, now, Roy, I know you're sitting there rolling your eyes. He said, well, how did you can't see me. I said, you were rolling your eyes, weren't you? Yeah. And anyway, I went on, I did the meeting that way. So you learn, you get little nuances of how to do things when your technology limits your ability to perceive.
Yeah.
But you should be as natural as you can be.
Totally.
And make it feel like you're in the room.
Just adapt to the situation, right? You gotta
Totally.
become almost like a chameleon.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Which doesn't change its nature, just changes its appearance.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. That's awesome. What would you say is one of the most challenging times that you went through, and how did you overcome it? Because a lot of people who listen, they are either successful entrepreneurs, or they're trying to get to be successful entrepreneurs, and they're limited by fear and anxiety, what people think, and maybe they've gone through a hard time. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Well, I've had Gad. We could say name your poison. I've had illness problems where I was I thought deathly ill in Denver one time, and I was going to speak to thousands of people at a big motivational rally that evening, and I flew in the evening before and was up in my room, just really, really sick intestinal problem.
Oh, wow.
And I'm curled up in a fetal position thinking I'm probably going to die. Wow,
that's intense.
And so I called a friend of mine in Denver, Mark Sanborn, and I said, Mark, you're a speaker I admire. You're a good friend. Would you come to this meeting tonight? I don't know if I'm going to be there, but be ready to give a speech in my place. And I said, here's the meeting planner's name. I'll let him know that you're coming. He said, okay. So I called the guy, hey, it's Jim, Mark's coming. And he said, okay. So finally, I was able to get out of bed, get myself together, white as a sheet, put on a suit, went down to the meeting site, and I'm in the room, and there's thousands of people in the audience, and Mark's right there beside me. And I say to Mark, I don't feel strong, but I feel like I can pull it off.
Wow.
So would you, if I start fading, would you just be ready to stand up and just start talking about whatever you've got to share and finish out my time? He said, sure. I said, okay. And I made it through without that. And then I introduced Mark to the group just so he could get possibly booked the next time around. But I've had that, and I've been through recessions where everything dried up almost overnight, and I had to figure out strategies through that. Only one time in my 46 years have I had to call a few creditors and say, hey, I'm not overdue yet, but I'm probably going to be overdue before I can get you paid. Let's work out a plan.
There you go.
And, that way it took their fear and lack of trust away.
Yeah.
And I'd been a bill collector, so I knew how that went.
Yeah.
I've been on the other side.
You've been on the other side of the fence.
Gad, I've been through a lot of it. And then I had cancer. I had prostate cancer.
Wow.
And so I had to go through that, and have a prostatectomy. And luckily that got rid of it completely. I remember the guy said, your age, you don't have to worry about this. It won't kill you. You can do this and this. I said, get it out.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean? I said, I got a lot of living and I don't want a cloud hanging over me.
Yeah,
so
really?
he did that. And then another time, I was running mountain trails at age 62 in California.
That's amazing.
And I was at the most fit of my entire life. 3 days a week, I ran mountain trails, 6 miles, 3 miles up to the top and 3 miles back to the car.
Wow.
and with a group of about 18 people. And we called ourselves the Heartbreak Hiking Fools.
Oh, wow.
We had 60 people we called members, and about 18 would show up. And it was go for a personal best,
Sure,
timer watch.
sure.
And I got to where I could smoke them. Boom, 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 boom.
And they're probably younger too, right?
Yeah,
At that
a
time?
lot of them
Oh,
are way younger than me, and some in their 40s. And I'm going down the hills fast as can be, and up the hills,
Wow.
and on the levels, I break out into a run again. And then at the end, I do 100 push-ups, and I did 100 push-ups a day every day.
Sound like David Goggins over here.
For 5 years. But I remember during a run when I was 62, I came blazing past a few guys at the bottom of a hill, and they said, "Slow down." I said, "No." And I'd start up the other hill, and I got dizzy. And I slowed down, and I stayed dizzy, so I stopped, and then I fainted. Well, that's not on the menu. And of course, when you're dizzy, it means your blood pressure has dropped, so the blood's away from your head.
Yeah.
When you fall, your blood pressure normalizes, so you revive. So I'm on the ground. I've only been there a second or two, and I wake up, and the other guys come up to me, and they say, "Hey, what's wrong?" I said, "I don't know." So I drank a little bit of water, and I said, "I can still make a good time." And I got up, and they said, "Nah, stop it. You're going back to the car."
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I saw them at breakfast, and they said, "Why don't you go to the ER?" And I did. And I had to have a pacemaker installed. They said, "You've got an electrical problem in your heart, not a blood flow, but electrical.
Interesting.
And you need something to keep it
in track.
do that."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm not ready to get old." And they said, "No, you can run marathons with a pacemaker." Oh, okay. So
Pop it
after 10 months of denial, I finally caved and got a pacemaker. And then went back to running mountain trails without a problem. So
Wow. Hey, you've been through it all.
I have been through most of it.
Yeah. That's pretty
Hopefully
impressive.
most of the bad stuff's behind me, but
Yeah. Well, you're still going strong. I mean, you're 76. You're still got lots of What's next for you? Like, what's your next big
Well,
goal?
I've got a lot of books yet to write. I've written 3 more that aren't published yet. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for co-authors and proteges. Because you figure 76, how long's the career runway in front of me? Well, not nearly as long as it used to be.
Oh, sure.
So I'm looking to hook up with some people who I have a natural affinity with, who want a career like mine, similar to mine, and they've got lots of runway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take them through my Experts Academy, and then when they have graduated that's 1 year, then I can, like co-author a book with them, let them take one of my previous books and revise it and get it to be their book as well as my book.
That's awesome.
So that they can then take it wherever they want to go.
So a little bit more about your Experts Academy. What exactly is that?
Well, I figure the best thing I can do, having this much mileage behind me and wisdom that I've been able to accumulate, the best thing I can do is help other people grow.
Yeah.
So what I did in early 2023 is I structured a year-long program called the Going Pro Experts Academy for people that are genuinely serious, like I was years ago, about pursuing this path. And it can be wanting to be a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a subject expert, but being a person in the world of human development.
Yeah.
And I take them through this process and assure that they have acquired by the end of that process, through a series of monthly Zoom meetings and weekly meetings and a couple of retreats, mastermind events, that they've acquired the communication skills, leadership skills, motivational skills, self-development skills, the knowledge of human behavior, and things like that, how to lead meetings, how to motivate volunteers, how to plan projects and organize things, so they can claim to be an expert, a professional expert, in any field they pursue. Now, that won't make you an expert at accounting, but it'll allow you to become one of the leading authorities in the field of accounting in the entire world. Before you acquire the accounting expertise. You say, wait, you have to know accounting. Yeah, but you don't have to know accounting to rise to the top of the industry.
Oh, interesting.
You have to know accounting to rise to the top of the accounting silo.
Ah, gotcha.
So I could go, as I have in the past, into banking and go from being a bank teller to years later being on the executive faculty of the American Bankers Association. I could go from being a first-time speaker giving an embarrassingly bad speech at a JC's meeting in 1972 to being president of the National Speakers Association and then chairman of the board of governors of the Speaker Hall of Fame. I could go from, name it, any field. If I have those skills, or if you have those skills,
Sure.
you can rise to the top of that profession or that industry in a short period of time.
So your academy, it's not specific to just speaking. It's more of a general breakdown of how to become successful in the top 1% of any field that you choose.
Exactly. That's the book Mentor Minutes.
Oh, here it is.
It's how do you reach the top 1% of any field? For example, in music, I talk about this in the book. In music, if music's too broad. You could say, I want to, like my grandson just graduated University of California, Santa Barbara with a degree in music.
Oh,
okay. But what part of music?
Right.
Performing music, orchestral music, classical music, rock music, music production, recording, a specific instrument like guitar or violin or piano or keyboard.
Yeah.
Music arrangement, pick a lane.
Right. Yeah.
So he got a general education in music, but he's now got to choose his lane and specialize so that he can rise to the top of the industry. Well, I'm a guitarist and a singer. I'm a singer-songwriter. And I am, if you look at levels of expertise, I am competent.
Okay.
I'm not excellent, I'm competent.
Yeah.
Competent means you can sit in with the big guys and you won't be embarrassed.
Gotcha.
But they're not going to single you out and say, Jim,
take the front,
get up there, take
act.
the lead.
Yeah.
No. I've done plenty of shows where I was the only guy on, or me and my wife, and I've been with big bands on stage. But I'm not the kind of guy that does a solo performance that wows people. However, I absolutely know how to have them have a great time.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what's next from competent? Excellent. That means you can wow them once in a while. What's next? Mastery. That means you can wow them anytime you want to.
Okay.
Right? And then there's leading authority, celebrity, star, and superstar.
Oh, okay.
So in any field you choose, pick the spot on the mountain you want to go to. You've done that in the field of financial services.
Yeah.
Right? In insurance and financial services, you're the bomb. You've got it, right? And you've got all the credentials after your name to prove
it's
that,
an alphabet
right?
soup.
Okay. So what if, even if you didn't have those credentials, you said, I want to be one of the most respected leaders in the $1 Million Roundtable.
Yeah.
Okay. You could become a staff member at the $1 Million Roundtable, earn your stripes, and become president of the $1 Million Roundtable.
Yeah.
Without having a license to sell life insurance.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Because it's kind of like a hospital. Who runs a hospital? Doctor? No. Administrator.
Ah, okay.
See? So the doctor expertise is a different silo.
Yeah.
But you can rise to the top of any industry by choosing a lane and developing these professional expert skills that transcend the lane. So in music, let's say you choose, I want to be a top level performer and perform with a band that's one of the best and most successful in the country. Okay, fine. Where do you start? Well, get a job in music. What kind of job? I don't even play an instrument yet. Don't worry about that. Go to work at a music store doing what? Sweeping floors?
Teaching the basics.
Handling the mailroom? Preparing flyers to put in the window? Well, how would that help me? Because the people that go to music stores are people in the music business. And the people you would work for know the people you would like to know.
That's interesting.
And once you get higher up and you become the manager or the guy in charge of the displays or the guy in charge of the recording room, then you get to know more and more of the players. And as you get to know the players, you learn their language. They learn your name. They learn that they can trust you. You become a go-to guy. They invite you to more events. You start getting to know the bigger people. Doors open. Opportunities fall in front of you.
Right.
Now you're on the Grand Ole Opry or you're at the Music Hall of Fame.
Right. Wow. See, what's really impressive to me is like this course that you've built out, this academy, because a lot of people, they're kind of lost in their sense of direction. They're not sure which way to go. And so this is a great foundation, and they'll probably discover it along the way, because we've created a training platform also for asset-based planning in the insurance space. But it's very specific, right? And so only like insurance nerds like myself would be like, oh yeah, this is great, I love it. It's yours is much more broad, where it allows people to develop that passion and change their lives.
Mine's kind of like I don't know, a master's degree or a bachelor's degree that would be generic.
Yeah.
You know, like they say, a liberal arts degree or something like that. Well, what I do is I focus on the success skills I know you're going to need.
Yeah.
No matter what field you go into. By the way, you probably noticed the shiny skin, you know, the perspiration here. This is proof. That's not not a virtual screen.
Yeah, that's really the capital of Texas.
Yes. In the summertime.
Yeah,
in
nice
Austin, Texas. And that really is the state capital. Yeah, this is a very cool place to be.
So Jim, if you had to give some like leading pieces of advice to people and then also tell us how we can find more about you, what would you want to say?
First off, become the kind of person other people would like to have as a friend.
Yeah.
Develop in yourself the qualities that would cause someone to say, I don't care what your skills are, I'd like you on my team at my company. See, when you become the kind of person other people want to have around, kind of person they can trust, kind of person who will take things seriously and assure that the details are handled, kind of person who's not sloppy about things and careless, kind of person they can trust with a secret, or you know, they can confide in you, the kind of person that's genuinely interested in other people, then people want to be with you. They want to hang with you.
Yeah.
And when that happens, opportunities open up. Yeah, the biggest breaks in my career have come after I've done all the detailed work, you know, the arrow work, shooting at the target.
Sure.
It's come by my developing the qualities that made me a magnet. And all of a sudden I get an unexpected phone call.
Wow.
Kaboom. This is Toastmasters International. We want you back after 27 years.
Whoa.
To be the keynote opening ceremony speaker once again.
Surprise.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And TED Talk. I did a TED Talk. I spent $287 to fly to Delray Beach, Florida, from wherever I was at the time. And I got on stage, one of 16 people, and did an 8-minute talk. Whoopee, you know, did my TED Talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, most TED Talks don't go anywhere. Mine, title of which was How to Believe in Yourself, went viral. 2.7 million views now.
That's amazing.
Without promotion.
Yeah, just organically.
Yeah, organically.
Wow.
So that's the thing. When you've got something other people want, when you're the kind of person other people admire or trust, when you're the kind of person that someone says, man, I wish I had someone like that in my corner, then those opportunities come about.
Yeah, that's totally
and
awesome.
success becomes viral for you.
It's just like, would you want to hang out with yourself, and would you hire yourself if you think about your entrepreneur?
Would you trust yourself?
Yeah, I'll do like a time check on it.
Here's my special private secret, Jim. I'm not sure you want to share that with me.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Right? I mean, you got to learn to trust yourself, and then be the kind of person other people would trust.
Yeah, totally. That's amazing. So where can people find you at?
Anywhere they look, seriously. Okay. Jim Cathcart, that's the key. You go jimcathcart.com, and that's my digital business card with all my social links.
Awesome.
The TED video and books and everything. You look me up on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, Twitter, or just go to cathcart.com.
Yeah.
I'm there. waiting for you. Come on down.
Come on down. Well, hey, Jim, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank
today.
you,
This is
Roy.
awesome. So much fun.
Great
If you
fun.
want to learn more information, go to jimcathcart.com. Check out his academy. Get some of his books. They are awesome. I actually went to his book signing here. He signed it for me.
Yep.
I got it. It's an amazing book. We're starting to read it now, and it'll help change your life. Do something different. You have to make that decision. Don't be lazy. Take initiative. Develop your burning desire. And like what Jim was mentioning, half of the battle is just having the curiosity to even explore that. It's more than what 90% of the whole world will ever do. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.